probably the biggest news story in the games industry to ever happen. So it's kind of hard to ignore for the most part. But
Yeah,
before we do get into all of that,
absolutely shocked by the state of the Photoshop beta generative fill. I've been playing around with that, and that's just making me really think a lot. So we are pleased to announce that Microsoft and PlayStation have signed a binding agreement to keep Call of Duty on PlayStation following the acquisition of Activision Blizzard. We look forward to a future where players globally have more choice to play their favourite games.
hi everyone, and welcome to the Polygon Forest. I am indie developer Vin Hill, and I am joined also by the other indie developer Christopher Jarvis.
Hello there.
So today, it's been a bit of a busy week in terms of like court cases and stuff, which people are getting sick of hearing about this, I'm sure. But at the same time, like I think this week in particular has sort of shown the light at the end of the tunnel, which is a good thing, I think, for everyone involved, because like just in terms of pure fatigue, this thing looks like it might be coming to an end.
We looked different when this started, didn't we? We had different backgrounds, and we knew this was going to take years.
And we were full of hope and figured it wouldn't take this long. But here we are, 18 months later, still not closed out. And if you don't know what the hell we're talking about, we're obviously talking about Xbox acquiring Activision Blizzard King. It's probably the biggest news story in the games industry to ever happen. So it's kind of hard to ignore for the most part. But before we do get into all of that, I guess we'll start with the usual. How's it going, Chris?
Yeah, it's going well. I'm enjoying my job as an indie game developer, working on Focus Find and playing games. I'm moving in a couple of weeks, so that's been a bit stressful. So I've not been able to dabble at things. And also, absolutely shocked by the state of the Photoshop beta generative fill.
Yeah,
I've been playing around with that, and that's just making me really think a lot. How about you?
Yeah, I've been playing around with that thing as well, and it's scary, man. And it's only the beginning for that thing, and it's only in beta, right? Like where's that going to be in 3 years' time? That's what I'm thinking about. I rarely look at these tools as they are like in situ, like right now sort of thing. Like you've got to
think
sort of
down
keep
the
an eye
road.
on, yeah, like 3 years later, what's it actually going to be like? It can be quite janky, and it doesn't quite give you the results that you want now. But I think once we start like really figuring it out and getting used to it, and the system also improving over time as well, and sort of really understanding light and value and stuff, and it does such a good job with it already, that it's going to be kind of uncanny after a while. But it does bring into question like a lot of the laws and stuff around that stuff, like in terms of like where is it pulling these images from to reference them? Where is it?
Yeah. How can they guarantee they're not copywritten images that they're being used? And even if they are copywritten images, like where does the law stay about, because to me, what my thought is what's the difference between a person being influenced by copywritten material and then making something based on a conglomeration of those materials? There's nothing illegal about that. But if a computer does it and then a human, solicits and filters through their creative brain specific things, pulls them all together, apparently that's illegal.
Yeah.
Well, some people think it's illegal and immoral. And it's just this big debate where I'm like, And did you hear Steam posted an article, and also since the article there's been announcements of like, at first, they seem to appear that you won't be able to release a game with any sort of AI-generated materials because there's filters you can put on to check if any images have had AI influence, and it's like a percentage, like 89% has been, definitely made by a computer. And they've rejected their first game that had materials that they suspected had copywritten images incorporated into the stuff. And the person making the game said, no, I can't guarantee that the images weren't copywritten, and therefore the game didn't get released, and he's had his £100 refunded. But then also at the same time, Steam have come out and said, we want to work with AI generated images, and we want to make games with including them, but there doesn't seem to be a clear path at this stage as to how games are going to get released that incorporate AI generated imagery.
Yeah,
So
it's
it's
tough,
still-
right? Like there's
Yeah.
so many avenues to sort of take this from, because ultimately, like, first and foremost, like, to put the flag in the ground, basically, it's like AI generated art is not going anywhere, right? Like that is, let's be absolutely clear about that. It's not going to disappear. We're not going to get rid of it. We can't get rid of it. It's going to be pervasive no matter what we do. So it's just a matter of like how we handle it coming in.
Yeah, how do we all agree is the
way.
best way forward? Yeah.
Yeah, because I keep seeing debates online. It's like, oh, we just shouldn't use this. It's like, that's all good and well, you having that opinion, and you're very welcome not to use it. You don't have to.
No.
But you can't,
But
like,
you're going to get left behind in the dust, where their output's going to increase fivefold. You know, you're not going to be able to keep up, basically.
Yeah, I mean, even outside of like the output amount and stuff, and quality and quantity and stuff, it's just a matter of like, you will not, like, as much as you want to stop using it, and if you want to be a purist, that's great, but you're never going to be able to stop everyone using it, sort of thing.
Yeah.
So it's very much a personal thing. So like those debates were like, we should just throw those out immediately. It's like, yeah, like we're not gonna. It's like
keep
having
them in the comments. Keep them in the comments. If you
Sure.
hate AI, put them in the comments.
I mean, you're free to hate AI as well. It's a personal choice, right? Like, you don't have to use this stuff. It's when you start like trying to force upon other people what they want to do with it, or like how they want to use it and stuff. Like, you're not going to be able to stop that. So it's about regulating the stuff that actually comes in that has been AI generated.
Yeah.
And like Steam are obviously the first to properly try this. I mean, they're probably not the first, but they're, quite high profile for the games industry, at least, to say, we're not going to allow AI generated video games basically to come in. But that's going to get messy pretty damn quick, just purely because we've got things like Unity are integrating an AI system where you can make games with Unity AI. So if you're not a programmer, you can just tell it what to make, and it sort of like helps you jankily put stuff together, which people are already kind of doing with ChatGPT. So that workflow is already happening.
Yeah.
Right?
But I mean, code is code. You can't AI check code. You can't say an AI wrote this code.
Exactly, right? So that's where I sort of stand on it, right? Because if we're okay with AI generating code, why are we not okay with AI generating images? How are they any different? Do you know what I mean? It's just real difference. The only real difference is, well, you can copyright writing, right? So if you can copyright text, there should be a way that you can copyright code. It's just a lot of it is down to the personalities of the people that generate the original content for this sort of stuff. So any programmers that are listening to this and will know this, but if there's a meme that constantly goes around with programmers that says it's like artist crying. It's like, oh my god, you stole my art. I can't believe you copied me. And it's like, I didn't copy you. This is my own original art. It's another, like, two artists like shouting at each other.
Yeah.
And then right below it, there's like two coder bros sort of thing. It's like, hey dude, I stole your code. And it's like, and then the other guy's like, it's not my code.
It's not my code.
It's just, that is the mindset behind a programmer. They just do not care. They're just like,
that hasn't looked up something and then copied and pasted. Yeah.
Yeah. So they're in this loop of shareability is very much, they're very free when it comes to like shareable things, and nothing is really sacred what they share. But in art, it's very much different, and it's nothing wrong with having that opinion. I'm an artist myself, right? Like, I understand that inflection point of like, hey, that's mine, you shouldn't take that.
But making the money from doing art is really tricky, whereas making money from doing code, I'm not going to say it's easy, but there's more highly paid coder jobs going if you learn code than there is highly paid art jobs if you do art.
Yeah, but ultimately, if we take a step back and like sort of look at it in a vacuum and say, okay, what is the difference between people, quote unquote, stealing code and stealing art, sort of thing? It's like, morally, like, we should be treating these things equally. But if Unity can put in this AI system to help you write code and make games and things like that, and Steam isn't blocking that, but it's blocking the image stuff. Like, where's the line here? You know what I mean? Like, that's the sort of thing. But the only real sort of solution I could see coming out of this is to say, okay, this game was created with AI art, right? And then what it can do, like, if we can anyway, check the sort of copyright materials that have sort of been used and say, okay, has it been used with an ethical AI tool that has taken it from a database which hasn't taken other people's artwork, it's only used it from open source images, or like stuff that's actually actively available to the public, and it isn't copyrighted material, and it's only taken from this data bank. Can you use that?
Yeah.
It should probably be a yes, right? And it's
We'll
just
have,
it's
like-
about
We'll have like green AI and like corrupt and like
Exactly.
dark web AI.
yeah, exactly. So we're gonna have this movement probably pretty damn soon where it's more about the databases that we're taking the AI from, rather than trying to stop AI itself. Because like the sooner we get rid of that debate, sooner we get rid of that argument of, I don't like we just shouldn't use AI, period, sort of thing. It's like that's
silly.
it's very silly. It's like it's not realistic. So like the quicker we can get that out the door, the quicker we can actually get to the solution, which is, okay, where these databases come from, and which databases do we accept to be allowed to be used in commercial products? You know what I mean? So and maybe there's a store system for that, right? So like, okay, if I upload my image to this database willingly, and it gets used in someone's image, right? Maybe I get like a royalty from that in some way. So there might be like this massive boon that's ready to happen. And people are actually getting paid to be included within these databases, to actually be used, and there's a whole market there that we're just not tapping into because we're too busy having this stupid fight about, should we use AI, yes or no? It's like, okay, cool.
That debate is now because there's the writers' strike that's happened, and then you've got the Film Actors Guild that are striking at the moment, and one of the biggest things is because of the streaming platforms, and also AI is coming into that fold. Yep. So AI has been used in that argument as well. So they're striking because they don't want to lose money, because they don't want AI to just take their jobs, and that's totally legitimate and fair.
100%. I absolutely agree with that, and it's less about the fear and the stuff. It's about like not trying to tackle it in the right way, or not trying to, tackle trying to find the right solution. It's just like unrealistic solutions have been put forward. It's like, okay, the quicker we can just get rid of those, it's like whenever we're talking about nuclear weapons or something, right? It's like, should we have nuclear weapons? Yes or no? It's a stupid question to ask. Like, they're here, they're gonna stay. It's about how we handle them and how we deal with them, like as a planet, right? It's just, AI is going to be the same thing. So it's an interesting topic. It's strange to sort of really think about and get into the meat and potatoes on it, especially with artists, because they're very stubborn, they're very pig-headed. I can say that as one. I was a concept artist for a very long time, so I get it, right? Like, I understand like this sort of need to hold on to stuff. But as a concept artist, I sort of see the benefits to both sides of it, because concept artists were constantly lifting photos, and we're cutting pieces of photos out and bashing it into our own images, painting stuff out and all that sort of stuff. And like, that process is really no different to what an AI bot does. Like, we're just doing it manually, and it's a lot slower and a lot more painful, but we're still taking images and stock photos and stuff from ethical photo packs and stuff like that if you want. Like, there's a lot of concept artists that don't. They'll just go straight to Google and find the first image they can, like throw it in, bash it around, paint it over, and you never know the difference.
And no one would know. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm not saying that's like ethically correct just because nobody knows about it. It's just there's a bit of hypocrisy there, especially with digital artists that say, no to AI, especially concept artists. I've seen concept artists online talking about AI art, and it's just like, you just have no legs to stand on, dude. You know what I mean?
The ones that just take the images of Google.
Yeah, it's tough, man. So yeah, I think the quicker that we get to, and this Steam thing definitely opens stuff up to that and says, like, no to AI images sure, but you've gone from A to Z. There's definitely somewhere like in like the P or L range that you can get there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because when it comes to Steam, like, you have to learn Steam's language. So say, take example, the capsule images, so the images that you see when you're going through Steam.
Yeah.
To understand what sells well, you need to learn what is doing well. And Steam has its language, and there's certain things on Steam capsules that sell, and certain things that don't. Like, is it called grimdark, where everything's dark and gloomy, and you can hardly see anything, and all the colors are sort of washed out, except for maybe some magic or some colors. And if you do that on your capsule, it's going to get views because it looks like a Steam game. similarly for like characters, if they're like 3/4 view on and they're looking at you and they're smiling, and then you've got the text above, it's going to look like a wholesome game, and all the capsules look the same that have those sort of style of games. So you kind of know just by looking at the capsule, not even if you know what you're looking for, just subconsciously your brain says, oh, it's like these other games, and then you get views. So now if you're using AI is probably going to eventually learn what a good Steam capsule will look like, and it will start making Steam capsules that look like Steam capsules. But, a human can cheat as well, just by looking at Steam and then copying what they see. So, like, it's both in the same realms of morality, if you ask me. Like, you don't have anyone going, all these Steam capsules all look the same. I need to be original because I don't want to copy anyone. And then they make something that looks totally different to any other Steam capsule, and it wouldn't do any well, and no one will buy that game, and so that person wouldn't do well. So you need to learn what is successful in order to be successful yourself. And to me, AI is just a tool to facilitate that. Obviously there are situations where if AI accidentally made the Mona Lisa, and then you're trying to pass it off as your own original artwork, there's there's lots of grey area when it comes to this sort of argument, I think.
Yeah.
And what the art's for, like concept art, it's not meant for the consumer, so it's just meant to communicate an idea to a team. So I think there's no holds barred when it comes to concept art. If it's like key art that's meant to be for the consumer, yeah, it's different, isn't it? Different rules apply. You don't want to be ripping off anyone directly, like copying and pasting, but making it your own thing.
Yeah, it's hard, man. It's a tough conversation to have, really, with a lot of people that are so passionate about it that they're so ingrained in this camp of it's ones and zeros. You know what I mean? Like there's no float value there whatsoever. So it's kind of programmer
jokes.
I know. Yeah. It's tough to be able to bring, like, those people in particular just need to acknowledge, like, this isn't going away, and we need to find tangible solutions which in the long term will actually not only be ethical towards everyone, but might even benefit the people that the AI is sort of referencing and taking databases from.
Yeah.
Because the quicker we get to that, the better, I think. I think that's going to be a good thing.
We have the technology for it to be like the music industry. I'm not saying that's even a good thing, where, the computers and the software and the platforms know what music has been played through these streaming packages, and the artists get a cut based on the number of streams. So we've got the technology there for if you put up a bit of copywritten art, and if the algorithm takes it, and then if images are used with that on AI.
I mostly think about the AI lifting other people's artwork and stuff. Like that's one thing. It's like, yeah, okay, that sucks. It shouldn't be happening. Absolutely. But then I kind of like have this view, like this sort of wonder if it's going to happen. But like a storefront where photographers, for example, can go and find, because I've done it before. Like I've got folders upon folders upon folders on my computer of just like random wall textures where I've been walking around in whatever streets and I've taken like random picture of a wall, and people must look at me like I'm crazy, but like I've incorporated them into concepts and stuff like that over the years, and every concept artist has got like these sort of folder setups. Imagine like that, but like people are actually making money on it, you know what I mean? And it'll be a massive boon for photographers, I think, because there's a lot of photographers out there that if you're not like a portrait photographer, or if you're not a fashion photographer or something like that, like it's a lot harder for you to generate income as a professional, to sort of bring in income as a street artist, for example. Like if you're a street photographer, like it's almost impossible to gain money outside of like photo books and stuff like that, which you can sort of sell for like $100 pop or something once a year, because it takes a long time, and then you might get an okay income from that, but it's a lot harder for you and to sort of generate that income. And I can imagine like this creating a whole new sort of professional field for people to come in and really sort of take advantage of this, so they can put food on the table, basically. I think it'd be a really, really good thing. And ethical and sort of agreed upon, and everyone using AI, the tools, the right databases and all that sort of stuff. I think it'd just be a good sort of solution for everyone. But we'll see. Like hopefully they figure it out soon, because it's the debate is heating up, and a lot more tools such as generative fill are going to come in active use, and I think it's only gonna get stronger and better as it goes.
Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah, agreed.
So yeah, you've been using generative fill.
I've been using it, and then I've been thinking, I really want to use it for focus find, but now knowing that I can't really without it coming up with some problems, that's an issue at the moment.
Well, it's like you said, the solution is just use it for concept art only, right?
Yeah.
For the time being, because who knows? Like maybe Steam will soften a little bit on this. Because like until they figure out the database issue, I don't think Steam's stance is going to change. It's not going to change in the next 6 months, that's for sure. But yeah, we'll see. It's tough.
Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah. But yeah, in terms of gaming news, though, I guess we better move on to our
main story.
Xbox.
Yeah. So yeah, you found this Phil Spencer tweet on Twitter over just literally an hour ago. So this is hot off the press. Do you want me to read it out?
No, I'll sort of like run through the sort of timeline in case you might have missed it, because like I was saying in the intro, like a lot of people are they've gotten fatigued over this, and they're just like, I don't want to listen to this crap anymore.
Yeah.
Like, just let me know when it's over. You know what I mean? Like people have got that mindset, but. And
this looks like the beginning of the end, doesn't it?
Yeah, that's sort of the thing. Yeah. So, like, for those of you that don't know, the FTC, which is the United States sort of certification board to allow these sorts of deals to go through for acquisitions and stuff, was actively suing Microsoft to block the deal for the acquisition of Activision Blizzard. And it was all sort of, people are sort of looking at it like, it's just going to go the same way as the CMA, like the UK certification board. Are they going to sort of get through this blockage? And the steps that they have to take are a little bit different in the US. So it doesn't just go straight to the CMA like it does in the UK. Sorry, it goes to get to the FTC's sort of point of like, okay, we're gonna actively sue Microsoft. Like first, a judge has to look at it and sort of say, okay, is this like a good enough sort of reason, good enough case for this to actually progress forward, to actually allow the suing to to actually get to the point where it's like properly in court. So it's like this pre-step was happening, and the judge basically came out and said, no, like this is absolutely fine. I don't really see
it's not going to happen.
Why this is really a problem. So that happened like
a few days ago.
Yeah, it was a few days ago. It was on the let me see. It wasn't too long ago. It was on July 11th. So the California judge allowing the Microsoft a California judge is allowing Microsoft to close its acquisition of Activision Blizzard after 5 days of grueling testimony, says Tom Warren from The Verge, if you're interested. Microsoft still faces an ongoing antitrust case by the Federal Trade Commission, but Judge Jacqueline Scott Corley, I think it is, has listened to the arguments from both FTC and Microsoft and decided to deny the regulator's request for a preliminary injunction. So it was also made that day, and then straight away, and something that hasn't happened in a very long time, the FTC did an appeal to say, no, we don't agree with that ruling.
Yeah.
And then that was very quickly, the day after it was sort of put through, like the appeal, it was automatically like pushed back and said, no, it's not a BS sort of thing.
Yeah.
And I think what it really comes down to is like this weird song and dance that they've been playing for like the last 6 months, where everyone's throwing this Call of Duty football around pretty much, and like it's a hot potato, and people are trying to ignore like it's not a big deal, and then other people are saying it's a big deal, and like predominantly Xbox have been saying, no, Call of Duty isn't that big of a deal, like that's not really our main focus of buying Activision Blizzard. And then Sony is saying it is a big deal, like if you take this away from us, it's really going to damage our business and things. And yeah, there's been a lot of like ups and downs, swings and roundabouts, lots of courtroom drama, like emails coming out of Sony last year, Like one of the emails leaked out, which was the CEO of Sony saying, if Call of Duty does go to Microsoft, it's not going to be that big of a deal, sort of thing. But
we can make a good shooter.
Yeah, publicly they've been saying the opposite and saying, no, if they take Call of Duty away from us, it's going to be a really, really bad thing.
And they've probably done their homework to see how many people would stop playing PlayStation, go out and buy an Xbox just to play Call of Duty. And it's probably a very, very small number of people.
It's very minimal. And
they've already bought a PlayStation,
Yeah, exactly.
So
I think they're more worried about like the PlayStation 6, right? That's the big one. So, but at the same time, while all this has been happening, this discussion about Call of Duty, because that's mainly what it's about, because Call of Duty is the biggest selling game every year. Xbox have been saying publicly like, hey, we want to cut a deal, and we publicly stated that we want to put Call of Duty onto the PlayStation platform for at least a decade, right?
Yeah.
Like we have no intention.
The CMA said the same thing. They're like, we're ready to consider proposals from Microsoft to restructure the transition.
Yeah.
So they were kind of backtracking, on what they were saying as well. Because we all know the deal's going to happen. It's just we've got to go through these song and dance and run through these hoops, I think, is what it is.
Absolutely.
And was it Microsoft and Activision have indicated that they're considering how the transaction might be modified, and the CMA is prepared to engage with them on that basis. Right, okay. So they're all saying, we're all going to sit down and have a talk.
Yeah.
And then that culminated in the tweet from Phil Spencer just an hour ago.
Yeah, so literally breaking news, I guess. 1 hour ago, Phil Spencer said, I don't know if you've got the tweet in front of you.
I do.
So, yeah, you can read it out.
So we are pleased to announce that Microsoft and PlayStation have signed a binding agreement to keep Call of Duty on PlayStation following the acquisition of Activision Blizzard. We look forward to a future where players globally have more choice to play their favourite games.
Yeah.
And I believe every single word of that. I think that's exactly what Phil wants, and I think he's happy to have that with PlayStation as well. He will never not say, damn that PlayStation getting Call of Duty from under our grasp. Think of all that money we could have made.
Yeah, I think honestly, like it's been highlighted quite a bit, and Xbox have highlighted this during the court case as well. That if they were silly and stupid enough to take Call of Duty off PlayStation, Xbox stand to lose a hell of a lot of money. And I'm not just talking about like a bit of loose change. We're talking about hundreds of millions of dollars from PlayStation gamers. So there's no incentive really for them to take it off the PlayStation platform whatsoever.
Yeah, because they're not trying to sell. They're never trying to. They know they're never going to beat PlayStation on console wars.
No.
And there's no point trying to compete with PlayStation and trying to get people to buy the Xbox by force, because that's never going to happen. It's only ever going to be with the carrot and the services that are different to PlayStation. Without
a doubt, and I think that is the big sort of thing which the FTC didn't quite understand for the most part. I mean, they understood it. Like I was actually quite impressed by the judge and how well she was able to sort of grasp the entire situation and sort of understand like all the nuances and stuff. But I do think the main sort of thing is like the question that keeps arising is like, okay, if you're going to keep it on PlayStation, why are you buying Activision Blizzard? What is the incentive here? And the incentive is Game Pass, and sort of like to try and dominate with that, because like, yeah, we can put all of these games on PlayStation, continue, like everything's fine, everything's normal, just like now. However, all of these games are going to come out day and date on Game Pass, no extra charge outside of the service, the subscription service. That's a huge thing, and that's why they're sort of doing this more than anything, because that probably will float some gamers over and be like, you know what, like I really want to play Call of Duty. If I do just subscribe to this online service, I'll just get all the Call of Duty content like pretty much for no extra cost outside of my like online subscription. So that might actually swing some gamers over, and I think they're sort of worried about that. But ultimately, I don't think Xbox really care about hardware, and they haven't for a while. They've been trying to get Game Pass as far-reaching as they possibly can, because if they had it their way, and Phil Spencer has said openly before that he would like Game Pass on PlayStation, you know what I mean? And that's kind of like, yeah, like the dude's being honest about it. He's like, we can never win the hardware wars. We never have, and we never will. It's just we want to give access to as many games to as many gamers as possible. Yeah. And the judge recognized that and said, yeah, like all this is going to do is just make things better for gamers. So that's not really anti-competitive. in our opinion. It's very much like it's better for the consumers.
Yeah.
So that's ultimately why the deal was sort of let through.
And it always seems like it's PlayStation that's being the sort of the immature one. Whenever it says whenever they say, they've said, what's the advantage of having other companies' products on our platform? They've said that before, so that that includes third party stuff on their platform. They can't see the advantage in it, and that's not good for gamers. That's basically very bad for gamers. That's kind of like an elitist look at things. I
think PlayStation are being a bit archaic here. They need to sort of catch up with the times and sort of recognize that the future is going to be these services. And I know PlayStation have started doing that, but they're not all in on that yet. They're not doing day and date games yet. They're not really like doing much with their sort of Game Pass competitor. The PlayStation Plus service really isn't up to the same sort of standard as what Game Pass is in terms of mostly because of the day and date stuff, and the fact that PlayStation's own IP, like a lot of them just aren't even on the service, is kind of insane, considering like you're not actually gaining any extra. You're not going to lose anything through like having to pay these people the 30% or whatever to put your game onto the service. Like it's free revenue pretty much, and they're just refusing to do that because they much prefer the $70 from each individual game being sold, which I understand and I respect it, but it's that this is the flex point, right? Like this is the sort of proof in the pudding. The reason why this deal matters to so many gamers is because like they're Game Pass subscribers, and they're kind of like, I'm looking forward to playing Diablo 4 for free and Overwatch 2 and all this sort of stuff, and it totally makes sense.
And I think PlayStation aren't really seeing the long-term view, or maybe they are, and maybe that's why they're a bit scared of this, because in the future, so what you've got now we're always in equilibrium in present time, and so you've got the PlayStation people that love their PlayStation because it's arguably the best console and they've got the best IP, yada yada yada, and fair enough.
Sure. Yeah, that's right. Fair. Yeah.
And you've got the Xbox people that might have always been Xbox people that love Game Pass because it's just unrivaled in the industry in terms of value for money.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you've got your Steam players, and that's fine. And then over the last few years, we've had people stop buying games, like physically, and just buying digitally. And either through push or pull factors, that trend is going to grow. Mm-hmm. And we're going to get to the point where sometime in the future, some percentage of people are going to be happy having a cloud-based service, never own a box, never put anything into a DVD player, and just play with a console. They'll just buy a controller, and they'll just play it on their virtual wall because they won't even have a TV. They're gonna be like the early adopters of these, of these technologies. And PlayStation are in a real pickle with that because they know they're going to lose a chunk of their current demographic. So when the future kids turn into the would-be PlayStation owners, when we're in a position when the average gamer is more likely to not buy a box, suddenly PlayStation are going to be way out of fashion. They're going to be old-fashioned, and they're going to be out of date and outmoded. As soon as we can figure out like quicker internet, and it even doesn't play into PlayStation's strengths, which is AAA, AAA action adventure games where you don't need to be competitive online. Those experiences, you can have a bit of lag, and it's the cinematic spectacle. It's not really that big of a problem. Half the time you're just pressing forwards in a cutscene anyway, and people seem to like that, myself included. So this is going to play into Xbox hands in the long run, I think, when they're going down this way of trying to buy all the IPs and get it on everything. I think that's going to be the end result. And and PlayStation are at the moment just sticking at their making the best IPs, making the best games, and then people will be forced to buy the PlayStation platform. It's kind of like the Apple platform in terms of mobile phones. It's like we make the best products, therefore, we have the best phones, and it's our closed system. Therefore, people are going to come over to it because it's prestigious and arguably the best. And I think that's a good analogy of PlayStation and Microsoft at the moment.
Yeah, I think ultimately the way that the industry is going, the way that we're trending towards, I should say, is that we're heading towards this Netflix versus Amazon Prime, Disney Plus situation.
Yeah.
And the main issue is, and this court case wouldn't even be a thing if this wasn't the case, but the main problem that they've got is like they're stuck to these hardware boxes, like these physical objects that they're still trying to sell, and that is where the competition really is at this point. But if we took that hardware out of the equation and we were just looking at a PlayStation app and an Xbox app and just separate subscriptions, much like we have with Disney Plus and Netflix and stuff, like if we were looking at it in that sort of ecosystem, it probably wouldn't be that much of an issue. Like it would be the equivalent of like, okay, Star Wars is getting bought by Disney now, and that's going to be on Disney Plus. It's not, and we're taking all of that off Netflix because that's what happened.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, yeah, it's kind of similar, but as soon as you introduce hardware into that, it just messes everything up, and
Makes
everything's
everything
sort
more
of kind of like slightly tied to sort of certain systems. But yeah, you're right. I think it's this matter of, like PlayStation in particular are not looking far enough into the future, and they're kind of very much stuck in the present, which I understand. They've got to look after their bottom line and stuff, but you can tell Xbox are just looking 10 years from now constantly, which is, I think it's going to help them out and sort of do them much better. That's why we have things like Game Pass. Like they came about with that subscription, and just kind of like they saw the future with that, and PlayStation now have a little bit of catching up to. And I think the only people that are really going to come out of this unscathed are probably Nintendo. It's just because
they're just like, yay,
yeah, Mario and stuff.
We've sold
it's like
more
that's
consoles, and nobody really figures that out.
Yeah, exactly.
People are buying 2 or 3 versions of the same game.
Yeah. I mean, they've just got their fan base, and they've got a loyalty there, and like it's a different kettle of fish for those folks. But even they're starting to like figure this out. I mean, look at the Nintendo Online system, and what they're doing with retro games and stuff, and sort of tackling the emulation scene, and really sort of integrating that system into a subscription. Like even they're sort of like really starting to get this sort of stuff, because even Nintendo is super cagey about this sort of stuff, about like holding their IP as long as they possibly can.
Yeah.
And now that they're at this point where they're starting to, like, okay, maybe we will just put Link to the Past on the subscription service. That is like, that 10 years ago wouldn't have been a thing. Like that's kind of mind blowing within the ecosystem, but in the wider market, like like Nintendo absolutely still need to catch up.
At least dip their toe, because they don't want to fall too far behind if things change, and they change real quick, they really do.
So, the difference is though, I think like and Sony have got this as well as Nintendo, but especially for Nintendo have got the IP which you literally can't buy and play anywhere else, whereas Call of Duty, for example, can be played on multiple systems, so whoever like owns that is actually quite a big deal, whereas Nintendo, stupidly and not stupidly, and very intelligently as well at the same time, they don't really dabble in third party that much. They very much keep to themselves and like, okay, let's just focus on our first party games, therefore like that'll drive hardware sales because that's the only place that they can actually play this. So yeah, it's nuts.
Yeah, and people are still happy to buy a 8-year-old piece of hardware now, which is just bonkers when you think about it.
Yeah, that's going to change soon, pretty damn soon, I think.
I think they'll rinse it. I think they'll start losing money before they change it.
No, I think they're going to announce a Switch sequel by the end of the year.
I don't know. We'll see. So to recap, this is probably the beginning of the end, because what they've done is PlayStation and Xbox have agreed on something, and therefore, all these hoops are going to line up, and the CMA will reverse their decision because of the new information. It seems like bridges are being built to get this thing, passed, and it's looking like there's nothing stopping everything from being signed off now. Really, it's just the paperwork needs to get signed.
Yeah. So the statement from Phil Spencer today is interesting, not because of Call of Duty, not for any other reason other than the fact that PlayStation are talking to Xbox. That's the interesting part. It's got absolutely nothing to do with the substance of the deal. Like, I don't care what the contract looks like. I don't care how long Call of Duty is. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Like, them talking to Xbox publicly like this is basically, it's an acknowledgement by Sony to say, we've lost. it's over.
Oh, really?
Yes, because like why would they even try to why would they start negotiating with someone that they're in the middle of a battle with?
Okay.
Like, you wouldn't do that. No, this it's a this is a shot to the bow for this whole thing.
Huh.
Sony have acknowledged the fact that they're just like, we're done here, so we need to start cutting deals, because if they win this all the way through,
right, Sony have lost.
yes,
Right. Okay, and so this is Phil Spencer's victory lap.
yes.
Right.
Well, no, it's not anything to do with Phil Spencer, in my opinion. Like, Phil Spencer was obviously like the
Got to announce it.
Yeah, I got to announce it and all this because he would. Like, why would you let Sony do that?
Yeah.
Because that's just like the biggest defeatist thing. But the fact that Sony are having these conversations now sort of tells me that, Sony are starting to realize, like, okay, this is going to happen.
This. Yeah,
we're going to lose.
The judges said we're going to lose. Yeah, we've got to cut a deal. Okay, right. So
because if they do get to the end of this thing and then the FTC completely loses and all that sort of stuff, and it's done, it's dead in the water.
Xbox
they don't have to cut any deals.
Yeah, they don't have to cut any deals. Yeah,
right. They could just be like, yeah, we
See
might take Call of Duty off next year. They really could. So they need to start cutting these deals now before the CMA wrap up their end, because the CMA are literally the last organization to sort of get through, and they're only like very particular on a really small thing, which is the cloud gaming side of it. It's got absolutely nothing to do with subscriptions, nothing to do with Call of Duty. None of that matters to the CMA. The only thing that the CMA are caught on right now is the cloud gaming stuff. So all they need to do is just cut some sort of thing to sort of like cover that.
Just to cover that. Yeah, it's probably gonna be a couple of sentences to keep them happy, to be honest. I mean, their wording when they said that, that it was very vague. Like we're basically like we'll reconsider if you talk to us.
Yeah, I think the CMA have got a lot of pressure on them now, because now that the FTC has lost their sort of battle, the CMA are going to be kind of like, you guys are the odd ones out now. And you're sort of saying to the world, like, oh, nobody can do digital business in the UK. That's basically what you're saying.
Yeah, basically it's saying the UK is closed for digital business if you want to. Yeah. We're going to make the wrong decision and go against the rest of the crowd. Is basically
so there's
it. And it got slated in the UK. It got like all the big business bosses were like, "This is stupid. What are you doing?"
Yeah,
or like,
nobody.
"It's not even going to happen." Like, I don't know why they said that. It's just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, very bizarre situation. But yeah, the CMA will fold pretty soon after this, because I think the FTC were doing the same thing with the CMA and saying, well, they blocked it in the UK, so there's a reason why we're wanting to block it too. And now that they've failed, like, it's actually gonna, like, the flip is gonna happen for Xbox. Xbox are gonna go back to the CMA and be like, well, the rest of the world is like doing this, like, why aren't you?
Yeah.
So it's gonna flip like really quick, and there's a lot of pressure on the UK now, especially post Brexit, cutting these deals to really have good trade deals coming through. And like, when you start doing stuff like this, it sort of goes against the grain.
Yeah, because it hasn't happened, but the next step that would happen if the CMA for some weird reason dug their heels in was like, no, all they would have to do would be to dangle, well, do you want us to do the deal and leave the UK? Like, do you want us to not operate inside the UK, because we can sell in the UK but like not operate in it,
Right.
Do you really want that to happen? Because these are global businesses, and it's like, no, I don't want that to happen, actually. No, I don't want to lose that amount of business. So yeah,
I wouldn't want to be in front of like the $69 billion thing, especially when like one of the biggest gamer market, I'm pretty sure it is the biggest gamer market in the country for the UK is Xbox.
Is
like
Xbox?
They sell more than PlayStation, I think, here. I believe.
In the UK? Oh.
Yeah. I believe their market share is actually bigger in the UK.
Interesting.
So it'd be very, very silly of them to sort of, like completely block this off.
Yeah.
Maybe it's not. Maybe it's just a lot. I know it's a lot closer,
it's a lot closer than it is
than what it is in the United States. And if the FTC lost in the United States, then they sure as hell should lose over here. And again, it shouldn't be anything to do with popularity contest anyway.
No.
But it does seem that the CMA are sort of like in the playground by themselves at this point.
Well, they definitely influenced what happened in the US, I think. They definitely...
Yeah.
It would have played out differently if the CMA had been smooth sailing. So it is interesting that they did that. Not saying it's good or bad. Just interesting.
Yeah, it is an interesting situation. But that all being said, I think it is the beginning of the end, like you said. So like people that have been sort of sick of listening to this sort of stuff over the past 18 months, totally understand. But this is the beginning of the end, and there's really no sort of major roadblocks for this not to happen before the end of the year. So if you've got an Xbox and a Game Pass subscription, you're probably quite happy about this.
Quids in.
Sort of
And if you're on a PlayStation, nothing really much has changed.
No, absolutely nothing's going to change. Nothing major anyway. Like all the games that you weren't going to get, like Starfield, you would have had to buy an Xbox for anyway.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, yeah, I think we're not really going to see the ramifications from this for quite a while either way. I think it's just going to be, other than seeing like a bunch of games coming in onto Game Pass over the next sort of 12 months.
Yeah.
It's going to take a while before we really sort of see the fruits for this, and Xbox it's going to take a long time for Xbox to really sort of gain that $69 billion back anyway. You know, like they sure as hell better have some Call of Duty games ready to go.
Yeah, I just hope they don't have like the King games on there. Like I hope it doesn't get gambly on PlayStation, on Xbox. I can't see it happening.
I don't think so. I think Xbox are using King as their gateway into the mobile market.
Yeah.
Because Microsoft really don't have a foot in that door, and to buy King is actually a really clever way of going about that. Much like Sony did with buying Bungie. Like Sony don't really have any good sort of gas based, like games as a service based first person shooters. Like who should we go and buy to do that for us? Bungie.
Yeah.
It was a great acquisition. I think Xbox doing the same thing with King to really get into the mobile market is kind of genius.
Experience. Yeah, because they'll keep the people on and just tweak what they do. Yeah, very clever, very clever.
Yeah,
one day we might get bought out one day.
Ha! Yeah, we'll see. I don't. Yeah, unless it's like so much money that I can retire like there and then. Like I'm not really that interested. I probably wouldn't stop making games anyway.
Yeah. I'm going to keep doing it. You know, I found the thing I'm doing now. This is it. I found the thing. Found the thing, so it doesn't matter what happens. Like, I'm going to make them either way.
Yeah. But yeah, speaking of games, mine's looking prettier by the day.
Yes. I've seen. It looks great. You got some vines going on.
Yeah.
So you're making that zombie puzzle. What's the
genre?
The elevator pitch.
It's an adventure game.
Adventure game.
So it's not
adventure game.
It's not really point and click. It's like an old school adventure game. It's a control and click. That's a better way to describe it. Post-apocalyptic game. It's sort of 3D pixel art, really low poly, a lot of comedy, dry humor.
Yeah,
it's the sort of games that I like. But yeah, I've finished the opening area now, like in terms of gameplay, like from start to finish, pretty much. Got a few more bugs to iron out, but for the most part, like that demo is ready to go. I've just got to make it. I've just got to make it look pretty.
Yeah. Nice. So
that's
just like cruising for you then.
Yeah, pretty much. Well, yeah, kind of, because it's been so long since I've done like any 3D pixel art either. So it's like I tried, like even a couple of months ago, I tried to find someone to hire to work on the game.
Yeah.
In terms of like the visuals, and like hopefully I could have found someone, but it's just every single applicant which I got, and I got a lot.
Was like they 2D pixel art?
Every single one of them was 2D pixel art. Every single one. And it was just like, come on.
That's
like
so
I
weird.
said specifically, I said 3D pixel art is like low poly 3D. Like you can't do 3D. I'm not interested. No offense. Yeah. It's just this is
and
what
not one of them could do that. Maybe the advert should have been 3D artist, and then one of their pieces would have been pixel arty.
I was pretty distinct and specific in all
but
of my.
You're dealing with people though.
I know they're silly. No, the person is smart. Like people are stupid. Like, as a collective. It's infuriating. But like ultimately, I couldn't find anyone. I wasn't able to find anyone, so I'm kind of having to do it by myself. So, like for all those people that might be complaining, it's like, why are you making a game by yourself? Like if it's taking so long, it's like this is why.
Yeah, you can't find.
It's not. I literally can't find.
A solo dev finding someone competent is so hard. So hard. Yeah.
But Yeah, it's getting there though. I think. Like I finished my Vine kit a few days ago, and I got that into Engine, and just making like leaves and stuff in the game, so it isn't just like the grass and the fence. Like there's actually like growth there now, and doing that in pixel art it's been a challenge. To get foliage looking good in pixel art is really difficult anyway, without making it look too noisy. But I've found kind of a good balance to it, I think, at this point, so it isn't like overbearing all over. Like I'm not doing too much of it and stuff. I'm trying to find like a good sort of system, so like whenever you do walk across the screen, you can still see like the 3D-ness to like the plant life and the foliage and stuff. It's been a bit challenging, but I think I'm landing on something now, and I'll be able to use that kit throughout the whole game. That's the great thing.
Just prefab it and drop it, and
so it's made of like 20 different like little bits of bushes and vines and like hangy bits and little like saplings and things like that, and then when you go into Unity itself and you start making all your prefabs, you can sort of arrange them in a way where you can make like a bazillion different combinations, and then drag and drop those wherever I need them. So I can put like corner vines in and stuff on corners, or like if it's convex, like weird geeky stuff, But it's been quite relaxing to get back to the artwork side, because I don't have to think for that stuff. That's the great thing about it.
Yeah.
I don't mean that in like egotistical way either. It's just like that's my bread and butter. That's what I like. That's what my career was.
Spent a decade doing, yeah. So that's...
But if you like, okay, now code some UI, I'm just there like pulling my hair out and like really thinking about it. But for artwork, it's just like I can just focus on the visuals rather than like the technicality side of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's been quite a relief for that, but at the same time, like I'm kind of half itching to get back to code and just get on with the rest of the game now.
Yeah, I find that whenever I change the discipline, I get like a like endorphins and just like, oh, it's different, and then you'll just get chugged down and like bogged down with it, and then you'll get to the end of that cycle, say coding. You've done all the coding you need for all your assets, and then you change to like make it more arty or like make it look a bit nicer, and it's like a change of pace. And even though you're starting from the beginning of something, it should be daunting, but I kind of really enjoy that, like switching it up and changing disciplines.
Yeah, I go through phases of it. Like sometimes I'm like really excited to jump back into code and really figure something out. And then there'll be other times like I've been putting off the artwork side of it for a long time because I've always been an artist anyway. Like I try to not, like when I'm making a game, like I try to keep that away from myself as much as humanly possible, because I can just get lost in that. So I try to ignore it as long as I possibly can, and just focus on like it has to work before it looks pretty. That's like the thing which I hammer into like all of the devs that I work with as well. And it's something that I've always sort of tried to live by. So whenever I do float back over to the art side, I kind of feel like I'm wasting time almost, because it kind of feels like I should be working on the mechanics. I should be working on the game design.
Do the difficult thing first before you do the easy thing. That sounds logical. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, but at the same time, it's hard for marketing, because like a lot of people complain online and stuff. Like whenever I post anything now, people, it's like, looks the same. It's like, you have no idea how much work has been done.
Yeah.
But because it physically looks the same because I haven't touched the artwork, but like there's so many mechanics which take time, and I'm really trying to figure out by myself and stuff. And people, and I don't blame them. Like they don't realize or recognize the fact that I am making this thing by myself. They don't understand like how much work that is for a single person.
Yeah, but this is the thing. It's like it's a great compliment when you show somebody something and they don't see what you've done when it comes to coding, because it makes sense, and what's sticking in their mind is the thing that you can fix easily. And it's like they don't mention, wow, that's really smooth transition, or like, oh, I love the way that you go between features, or like that UI was working seamlessly. No one's ever going to say that, except
everyone's critic.
Even game devs won't say that, and that's what you've done, and that's what you're showing. And if they don't say a word, then that means it's working perfectly, because it looks as it should.
Yeah, that's fair. And that is a good point. And it's like when you focus on the negatives and stuff, and that's honestly one of the main reasons why I've not stopped showing stuff altogether. I'm trying to like pace myself a little bit better, because people are sort of getting sick of seeing that same thing. And the next time I show it, I really want it to be different. I want them to like really be like, oh shit, that's like that's
how many
that's
of them?
different.
How many of them are though? But and how many of them, whenever you show them, are they seeing it for the first time? That's what I heard
It's
about
less.
social media.
Yeah, it's less about like the amount of people. It's more about like the
fans that want
the
more.
the amount of people that I've seen say it versus because at the beginning, like I posted like 10 videos in within a month, and there was like one comment which was kind of like, like, oh, is this the only like section in the game? And it was like, whatever, it's one person. But now whenever I post anything, that number is now like 20 people, right? Versus the hundreds that are still like enjoying it and like looking and liking the look of the game and stuff. That's great.
Yeah.
But the amount of people that have sort of started commenting like that is kind of like, okay.
You need to please them. And those are the people that are probably going to be in the community, like the super fans, if you like, the people that are liked it early on and are engaging. So yeah, I get that you have to please them, because that's all about community management, isn't it? Like
yeah, but I'm also trying not to focus on them too much. You know what I mean? Like I'm just trying to
make your own game in your own way.
Yeah, I mean, because like people just don't understand like the process of what how these games are made. It's not like we make the whole game like steadily at the same time. It's like, no, when you're first making a game, you find one section of it, you make that look really good and polish it to high hell, and then you use that for marketing purposes. And while the rest of the game is just like this desolate grey box, right?
Yeah.
And it works and it's great, and you can figure out the game in that grey box, but ultimately the only real thing that you can show is that pretty bit. So when people are complaining like, oh, is this the only part of the game? It's kind of like, yeah, but that's the process of how these games are made. Because like once I figured out that bit, and that's a demo and stuff, and you get to go and play that, I can just like switch over to this like huge colossal grey box over here, and I can make all of that look awesome.
So especially if it's one person, because you're wearing all the hats, so you've got to wear the coder hat for one chunk of time, then you've got to wear the artist hat.
Yeah, I think a lot of the problem which I've had, honestly, is probably because I have a AAA mindset almost. I don't mean AAA mindset as in my game is AAA. I mean, because I've worked in AAA studios and I've seen how games are made, and they're made sort of like in the exact same way every time. And now that I'm at an indie level, I'm doing the same thing, and it's working beautifully, like in terms of like how the game's getting produced, and I understand like the systems, and like I know like the game is going to be better for it at the end. But the marketing in that cycle is so much
stunted.
different.
Whereas a lot of indie devs, they can go in and they can just play around with the mechanics, make it look really pretty, and then they can get a lot of engagement straight away. Especially if it's like their second or third game and they've already got like a following, they can get some hype going with just some things that look pretty, with no guarantee that there's going to be a good game at the end of it, which is kind of scary. It's kind of not. I wouldn't say that's a good way of doing it. You've got to get the good mechanics first before even bothering to show people, right?
That's ultimately what I'm trying to do as well, is that whole bit like of being worried that people don't really know what they're getting. That's why I'm trying to get a demo out next, because like if people can play it, I'm still like the people that play that demo and enjoy it, they're the people. They're the ones that's the attention I want. I don't care about the people that like the videos, don't care about the people that like the screenshots, don't care about like the cool little prototype. No. If you played the demo and you've enjoyed it and you've wishlisted the game, you're my people.
Yeah.
That's who I care about. Everyone else is sort of noise for the most part, because I know that they're going to fall off at some point or another. But the people that play the demo, that understand the game, specifically what the game is and
what it isn't,
the sort of vibe it is, and especially what it isn't. Yeah, you're right. Like once they understand that, and then I'm going to really cater to those people. They're the people that I'm going to be like, hey guys, like, so let's talk. I'll have a much more engaging conversation with those folks. But yeah, it's exciting. Like things are progressing. It's getting. I'm looking forward to getting back into the States so I can like have my own space and an office space again, and really sort of figure this out properly. Because I think
seeing your wife,
Well, it's secondary. No, of course. But yeah, it's been like the most challenging thing for the game, honestly, has been me being on the road for the past 6 months. Like that's or 7 months now.
Yeah.
Not having my own space, like working off a laptop out of a suitcase, it's been difficult. It's been really hard. So yeah, once that gets fixed, I think a lot of other things are going to fall in place. So
yeah,
fingers crossed.
I've got a piece of inside info that I know about Vin that the viewers and the listeners might be interested in, and that's that at the moment he's working on his Mac laptop, and he also uses a little iPad Mini, is it?
Yeah.
As a monitor. So so that's his monitor. Second monitor. So that is kind of like compact as it gets, really. And it's really cool, but it's So cutting some slack next time you're sat there on your massive rig with your 4 monitors. Think of this guy tip-tapping away.
Making multiple video games.
Making multiple video games simultaneously. Working late into the night.
Indeed. Anyway, we should probably wrap it up though. It's been an hour. Is there anything else that you want to cover before we jump off?
Just Jedi Survivor is awesome.
Oh yeah, you're playing the second one?
I'm playing the second one. It's freaking awesome.
Cool. Very cool.
Yep. So go out and play that because it's great. We'll talk about that next time. But yeah, I could talk about that for hours.
Awesome.
You?
No, that's everything. I need to get back to work.
Right, yeah, okay, until next time. Sorry, we're a bit lackadaisical with our releases. It's because we've all got life stuff happening. Moving house and Vin's between countries. So it's going to be a bit as and when we can make it.
Yeah, I don't think anyone minds, to be fair. So
bear with us.
All right, Chris, where can people find you, mate?
So if you Google Acrylic Pixel, I've got YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok. You can wishlist Focus Find, the indie game I'm making, on Steam. That would be great. Check it out. It's a psychological sci-fi thriller about a person reliving memories through the stages of grief.
You've practiced that clearly. You can find me. You can find me all over the internet at Hillfolk Games on TikTok, Twitter, Threads now as well, Instagram, all of those places. Just Google Hillfolk Games, and I'm sure I'll show up. And also please wishlist my game, Long Gone on Steam. It's a post-apocalyptic game set in a neighborhood. That's about it. Go look at it. It's got a zombie in it. It's awesome. Please wishlist. It makes indie devs very, very happy. Until next time, thank you very much for joining us, and we will catch you later.
Yep.
So
bye-bye.